Medic. You can't throw the baby out with the bathwater argument if your position is literally to tie Israel to Judaism, which is your position. So which one is it? Okay, this is a failure of whataboutism because you're the one who's tying Israel to Judaism. So either you just said your entire fucking position is fraudulent and you have been an anti-Semitic person this entire time by making this false conflation between Judaism and Zionism, by making this false conflation between Israel and all Jews, or you're just saying, why can't Jews have a little bit of genocide? Come on now. Like, let me have a little bit of that. Let me get a little piece of the action here.
America, if you disagree with President Trump's policies, or even in the face of larger scale disasters like slavery. So again, Zionism is the right of a people to self-determination. You can be upset with the policies of a government. But again, if you didn't say in the wake of enslavement of Africans, America should be destroyed, if you didn't say in the wake of the Crusades, Christianity has no legitimacy.
Dog, the funny thing is, conservatives, and by the way, this is right-wing reactionary propaganda, for the record. I see this as no different than like a fucking neo-Nazi being like, why are you attacking white people? Why do you hate Christianity? What he's literally fucking arguing here is exactly the same shit. No, that's what people always say. People that want to bring back chattel slavery or reinstate the racial hierarchies and continue the racial domination of black people, people who are white supremacists do say that. And you are a supremacist of a different variety. You are an ethno-religious supremacist. You advocate for Jewish supremacy. You advocate for Jewish domination over the Palestinians. So you turn around and do the exact same argument. White supremacists say the exact same shit that Jonathan Greenblatt is saying. They just say it for Christian nationalism, white people broadly, white men. They have a different seasoning associated with it. And most people don't understand because like Jews in the Western world have historically been a marginalized population with pogroms and also the Holocaust, that a lot of Americans who want to be progressive cannot comprehend that like in Israel over there, Jews are the dominant in-group. They are the white people of Israel, the quote unquote white people of Israel. They don't have to look white. I just mean white as a socio-political construct of who has the power, who is the in-group. You say Jews control the media in America, you're anti-Semitic. You say Jews control the media in Israel, you're just reflecting on the reality. Okay? Do you understand? I mean, this is a humorous way to describe it, but that's the major difference. You put a fucking Star of David on the side of a fucking apartment complex to mark that a Jewish person is living there in the Western world. That might mean you're about to do a hate crime, an anti-Semitic hate crime. But in Israel, settlers mark Palestinian houses with the Star of David, and that is an indication of a hate crime of a different sort that is about to take place. They are going to light that house up. They are going to push those Palestinians out of that home. They are going to engage in a pogrom. That's the difference between the power dynamic. And of course, I would take it one step further and even say that in the Western world, the only reason why this is the one specific group that has some kind of like real systemic power in quote unquote canceling people and deplatforming people is because of its ties to American foreign policy. Because anti-Semitism is used successfully, or at least was used successfully, as a mechanism of deflection and a shield for Israel. That is the only reason. That is the only reason, because Americans don't give a fuck about any of this shit. They don't. They broadly do not care. So if you're always wondering, like, why is it that this is the one marginalized group in the United States of America that people seemingly do care about, okay, or that institutions do actually move in the direction of, and will will go through a tedious list of dog whistles to figure out whether or not someone is being anti-Semitic, and then like end up deplatforming them or whatever. At least they did. Okay? That is the reason, because it is used as a primary vehicle to defend Israel. It's a primary vehicle to stop conversations from taking place about Israel in the United States of America. Okay? That's it. That's it. And of course, part of the process is that, and this is something that I also talk about quite frequently, but like, there is no comparison between the systematic discrimination that still exists against Muslims in this country, that still exists against black people in this country, that still exists broadly against brown people in this country, versus systemic discrimination against Jews in this country. Jews can still very much be victim to anti-Semitic hate crimes. But as far as like some sort of systemic disenfranchisement, it does not happen. That it used to, but in contemporary American society, that does not happen. Okay? This doesn't mean that anti-Semitism is not a hateful bigotry. It is. But disenfranchisement of Jews broadly by the systems is like disenfranchisement of Slavs broadly by the systems. It happened in the past. It doesn't happen any longer. Of course, the systematic disenfranchisement of Jews was far more consequential given that the Holocaust happened. But once again, remember, it's just, it's not the same as different forms of bigotry, and the defense mechanism that exists only exists because it is used as a weapon to defend Israel in American discourse. American citizens are getting rounded up based on color of their skin and what language they're talking as we speak for deportation. Exactly.
If you don't say in the wake of the oppression of women for centuries, Islam has no right, then why would you feel differently about this? Again,
I'm only trying to carry.
Jewish state,
I'm trying to.
Yeah, why do you care so much about the Jewish state? Why do you care so much about the Jewish state? It's a terrible argument. Anyone looking for purely materialist and realpolitik reasoning to explain the U.S.-Israel relationship will come away frustrated. Number one, this is David Grossman. I think the best place to start understanding that relationship is through looking at the first Western imperial power to control Palestine, England. A Christmas gift for the British people says so much. 100 years before President Donald Trump recognized Jerusalem as Israel's capital, British Prime Minister David Lloyd George proclaimed that the city would be a Christmas gift for the British people. Using Jerusalem as a means to impress the public, the Prime Minister insisted that a symbolic victory in Palestine would bolster morale as they fought battles on the Western Front. And in June 1917, with his sights set on defeating the Ottoman Empire, Lord George appointed General Edmund Allenby as the High Commissioner of Egypt and gave him one of the most consequential orders in modern Middle East history, to capture Jerusalem by Christmas. Christmas gift, of course, implies the religious appeal of control, but also that Palestine is a reward, likely for the high cost of World War I. Capturing Jerusalem by Christmas vaguely points towards Crusaders, the idea of a reachable and controllable past in a real physical place. Looking at the American relationship, you find something similar, placing onto Israel qualities that feel generically American: courage, tenacity, being the underdog. To quote from Nixon in 1974 as the first American president to visit, upon his arrival in Israel, Nixon said in a 15-minute ceremony at Ben Gurion Airport, "I can only say that the friendship that we have for this nation, the respect, the admiration we have for the people of this nation, their courage, their tenacity, their firmness in the face of very great odds, is one that makes us proud to stand with Israel, as we have in the past in times of trouble." Israel has been able to successfully market itself as like an American commodity, an American partner, or rather an extension of America to American society broadly. Israel has also, as Theodore Herzl, the founding father of Zionism, chose to try and market Israel as a settler colonial project to different subsects of Jews that were ideologically and theologically against the creation of the Israeli nation state for Jews. He went to different groups and advocated differently, okay? He marketed it. Israel does the same still to this day. You go to evangelical Christian circles, and you got guys like Gilad Erdan, former UN envoy, former UN ambassador to Israel, visiting Pastor John Hagee's church only a couple months after October 7, 2023, to talk to them about how you're on the side of the good here. You're actually going to basically bring back the rapture. You think anyone in Israel fucking legitimately believes that? Maybe some of the fucking Messianic Jews, but like they don't. That's not Gilad Erdan doesn't believe that the fucking rapture is going to happen. Okay? Theodor Herzl, founding father of Zionism, was secular. Why did he want Israel to be implemented in the biblical Israel, the biblical land for the Jews? Because he thought he could bring a lot of religious Jews on board doing that. The initial attempts were either to build it in Uganda. Some people even floated the idea of Argentina as well. Why did they build it? Where they built it? Marketing. As noted perfectly in High Noon, Jews and the Cinematic Wild West, How the West Was Made. In 1958, Manischewitz Company released a 6-minute Passover record created by Harold Stern, a real honest-to-goodness Jewish cowboy from Central Texas. Anticipating giggles and incredulity from his urban Jewish listeners, Stern remarks, frankly, there's nothing so unusual about being a Jewish cowboy. It was a history lesson pressed onto a novelty record, alternating between Stern's folksy monologue and musical interludes by Israeli singer/accordionist Avram Grobert. The mashup was hardly accidental. Israeli mythmakers and filmmakers recognized American Westerns as a useful symbol for their own Zionist project, reimagining the cowboy as a chalutz, pioneer, or sabra, native-born. The Western town is an agricultural community, moshav, or kibbutz, rifles as machine guns, denim jeans as khaki pants, Stetsons as temple hats, boots as sandals, and Native Americans as Arabs. The album Jacket bio touts Stern's combination of the physical skills and mental aptitude, an image in line with Israel's new Jew. Israel as a new frontier in line with the American conquest of native peoples was quickly understood by those wanting to make the new country appeal to America. As Ilan Pappé notes, in The Idea of Israel, early Israeli cinema often looked directly to the Western. And remember, Jabotinsky and Herzl at different times has openly revealed that Israel was a colonial project. The early Zionist movement did not actually mince words on the colonial aspect of this. Okay? You have to remember, the idea that the progressive forces defend Israel is a relatively new phenomena in the grand scheme of things. Okay, it's a relatively new phenomena. People were just like, yeah, no, this is a colonialism. This is a settler colonial operation. Okay, Zionism is a settler colonial operation. We know it. We don't mince our words. We just say it as it is. Okay. Yeah, just as Manifest Destiny, just as Lebensraum, Greater Israel as a project is colonial in its ambitions. You're saying that an imperialist ethno-supremacist Nazi state got inspired by the U.S.? Yeah, not the first one. Yeah, I'm saying that. And I'm also saying not the first one. The OG, the one that we all know is bad, the German version of this, also was inspired by the United States of America, as you guys know, if you are students of history. You know? Not the first one at all. Let's be fair, though. Hitler thought the American one-drop rule is too severe to apply in Germany for Jews. That's true. It's also much more difficult to apply the one-drop rule in that situation because, like, you know, Ashkenazi Jews are white. I think that's more of it's just, like, difficult to implement. For those of you who don't know, one-drop rule is at the heart of white supremacy. The notion that even if you have a single drop of the blood of a black person, you are still black. Cinema added its own dimension to the myth of annihilation and associated the Nazi ideology of human extermination with Arab intentions in 1948, as we can see in films such as Hill 24, They Were 10, and, of course, Exodus. An especially blunt version is to be found in the feature film Amud Chaesh, Pillar of Fire, in 1959, not to be confused with the television series discussed later on with a similar name. It is the story of a small southern kibbutz locked in a desperate fight against Egyptian tanks. The American Jewish director Larry Frisch staged the film as a classical Western where the cowboys have to fight the savage Indians, who do not appear in the film but are implicitly presented as targets whenever the brave Zionist soldiers shoot someone in the dark. In one scene, there are obscure images in the distance that seem to be dangerous Arabs.